Well, welcome to the Friday Bubble. We haven't been online for a little while, so I thought I'd bring you one of the latest new releases. Bollinger. They started this interpretation of predominantly one village, 4 years ago now, with the 15 dominant year. They've obviously started in Verzenay, 16 also in Verzenay, 17 changed to Toxier, and the latest one is from their home village, which is the village of Ay. Now, for those of you who have been over a little bit to Champagne, you must have been to Rams, which is in the north. So you drive south towards Epinay, you come over the mountains, the Montagne de Rams. As you come down, you'll see Epinay in the distance, straight ahead of you. And if you go off to your left 5-6 miles, you get to Ay. So in the village of Ay, one of the bigger villages actually in Champagne, at this point you'll have Shuey to the south, you'll have Dizzy to the west, and you'll have Marie-sur-Ay to the east. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. It's quite a big appellation. So there's 370 hectares planted. Predominantly it's all south facing, and it's nearly all Pinot Noir. There's a tiny bit of Chardonnay, about 8%, and then an even smaller bit of Meunier, about 2%. So predominantly Pinot. So this year's bottle is PN AYC 18. So what is the AYC? The AY is obviously the village, spelt in its entirety. The Committee Champagne asked for the C to be added because you can't abbreviate I. It's a village that is abbreviated. So it's AYC, and the C just stands for Champagne. Bollinger have been based in Ay for centuries now. They have 180 hectares, quite a lot in their home village of Ay, and also spread over 7 main villages. So the majority of their grapes are the red grapes. The really fascinating thing with this new interpretation here is it's 100% Pinot Noir. And what we get to see is the village. So this year I'm quite excited because with 2018, the home village, so south facing, 2018, 47% of it is from the dominant year. Now, if you don't remember 2018, it's the start of what should be a very good trilogy of 18, 19 and probably 20, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Certainly 18 and 19 look super good. 18s are generally very fruit forward. So a lovely year, lots of sunshine, and no rain at awkward moments, and as a result there was relatively large volumes and also really nice ripeness. So in Ay, which, as if you remember I said was south facing, there should be some really rather beautiful fruit in this one. So I'm keen to try this. I haven't yet had a preview, which is unusual of these champagnes. So all Pinot, 50% is barrel fermented, so the other half is in stainless steel. Now there's quite a lot of statistics behind this champagne, and it's probably one of the reasons that it has so much characteristic. So as I said, 47 is Pinot from 2018. There is then, I think, 25% of Pinot Noir from 2009. The interesting thing, though, is it's from 2009 Magnums. Bollinger are one of the very few companies that keep their reserve wines in Magnums. Not all of their reserves, a proportion of reserves are in Magnums at a sort of low pressure, at about 2.5 bars. So they age very differently. They only obviously put their very, very best ingredients in those reserve wines, and quite a lot of it is in here. So we have the backup villages in this wine from Toxier and Verzenay. Now, Verzenay is very interesting because it's north facing on the Montagne de Rams. Here in Ay, we're south facing, and we're in the valley de la Marne. So overlooking Epinay, beautiful warm exposure. So the Ay base has been barrel fermented. The other villages has actually been stainless steel. So very, very different. So you have got a little bit of that spice coming from from the toasty oak. There's so much, considering I've just opened this, there is so much fruit in here. Now Pinot, obviously within the spectrum of fruit, is like, I suppose, some of the ripe yellow fruit, predominantly those sort of red, almost blue fruits. So things like blueberry and blackberry and this is full of things like really ripe peaches. And there's a beautiful little toasty vanilla-iness in here as well. And I haven't even tasted it yet. The aromatics, I have to say, are really interesting. Lots of really ripe, fleshy fruit in here. And that's sort of peaches, apricots. There is a sort of little cranberry twist I can taste in here, which is amazing. You can tell it's from a very ripe, beautiful ripe year like 2018. There's really nice purity, and as I'm talking now, you get that little bit of freshness coming from the salinity, and I'm assuming this would be the eye fruit, the 18 base. Obviously the village is based on all those gentle sloping hills, where the chalk is not very far, sort of about this far below the topsoil. So the roots get into it and they absorb this sort of minerality. Very, very nice balance in here. Beautifully light, actually. Blanc de Noir sometimes you think might be heavy. Absolutely no sign of that in this champagne. Just a real pleasure, a real lightness in the palate. And as I said, the salinity in there makes it finish really rather beautiful. Plenty of acidity, so I would imagine there's absolutely no rush to drink this. If you'd like some more of those dried fruit characteristics that come with longer post-disgorgement time, then you should definitely wait. This was only disgorged in January, actually, so January this year. So it's, 7 months post-disgorgement. So we're not seeing anything like its best. If you can keep your hands off it, enjoy it now while it's fresh, fruity and rather zippy. Try one a couple of years older if you can. And talking of that, I think it's really interesting to have a look at one. I'm going to go 2 years prior, because I thought it'd be really interesting. It was another really strong vintage, 2016. So there is some common traits with the two. Now, obviously, we're in Verzenay, so very different. Here in Verzenay, we're back to north-facing fruit. So we always say it's that sort of feeling of a coolness in the grapes. And in here, we had reserve wines going back to 2006. So those reserve magnums came out again in force. And I think you really see those reserve magnums adding this complexity into the champagne. So let's just have an initial look at this one. Very, very different. So I almost think you can tell initially there is that immediate, there's definitely that immediate sort of a slightly different vintage. I feel like it is a little bit cooler, and I think that's the double thing. Perhaps 16 wasn't quite as warm, but I think also you have the Verzenay fruit, which makes up again about half of the blend. Wow. And I was saying I thought this was super young and fresh and zippy. This was disgorged exactly 2 years before this one, so in January 2021. The post-disgorgement development is only just happening, so I think these will definitely take quite a number of years before they're going to show themselves off at their best. This has, funnily enough, it has more of that peachy, apricot-y characteristic. Perhaps interesting, perhaps not quite as zippy as the one from I, which actually I wouldn't necessarily have expected that way round, because a hot south-facing village in I, here in Verzenay, we're north-facing, so very, very different fruit profiles. And maybe what I was saying about its level of development, it actually has developed very, very slowly. And maybe this is this north-facing vineyard thing here, where you're going to see this one age very, very slowly over a number of years. Where you'd pick favourites on tastings like this, really difficult. I'm going to go back and remind myself of the 2018. I think was really delicious fruit. Somehow this one almost seems a little bit more forward at the moment, and I guess it's just showing off after that little bit of after the disgorgement. And so actually now I've gone back and tasted them, I can summarise this much better. So the 2016, you can definitely tell that half of it is from Verzenay. It's actually it has got that slightly cooler profile of fruit and definitely slightly fresher acidity. The 18, you can taste the ripe, rounder fruits. Slightly lighter acidity, but I think we're talking very minor things there. Both are absolutely delicious. Today I would drink the 18, just purely because I think it's having a rather lovely moment. It's just fresh and vibrant. I think the 16 from Verzenay wants a lot more time. So there we go, the latest one from Bollinger, and I hope you will have a chance to try it sometime soon. Cheers everybody.